Hi, I'll speak English, which is not something I do very many times, so sorry. I will tell you what I'm doing. I'm a communicator, so Victoria maybe finds it out right now. I have a lot of employees. I've seen many people that I worked for and worked with. So as a communicator, I am very interested in interesting, because if I'm not doing something interesting, nobody will read it. It will be thrown away. So today's topic for me is absolutely interesting. It will be like a little game we'll try to play together. Those who have seen any of my previous presentations know that I have a disclaimer. I usually say what I'm going to do today is a model. It's not going to be the truth, the ultimate scientific, I don't know what. I'm just using a model to offer a new perspective and to go in depth in some of parts of reality that we are not very often thinking of. So this is the grid. It's a very simple grid. The black lines are the words that mean concrete things, something we can touch, grab, show. So it's like a house, a car, or a tree. And the red lines are abstract concepts, which is enthusiasm, love, attention. We cannot touch them, we cannot move them. Usually quarrels are about these, because if you see a tree and you say, look, this is a tree, another person would not say, no, this is not a tree. While if you say this is socialism, and you say, no, this is not socialism, this is wrong, no, this is right, and so on. So most of our conflicts are here because these abstract concepts are social determined. They are only in our minds. And I'll try to take them out. How do we make something get inside out? How do we extract things? Now, I'll make a pause right now, because we have two parts. The first part of the presentation, which is very, very difficult. It's very theoretical. I'll use many long words, but I need your attention for this. It's crucial for your future life. So, to take something inside out, on the black part, yes, the black lines, the concrete, like a car, to take it inside out, you need either a very good engineer, either a very good Photoshopper. So this probably is the second case. I don't know how we can do it with people who, maybe you tried after drinking a lot, but I don't think that many succeeded to be functional after getting the inside out. But I am more interested in the red lines, because the red lines, they have probably more than half of our reality. If we are economists and we talk in shares, I believe that the red lines, the abstract concepts, they have a controlling majority. So I'm very interested in how we make those parts, we can change them radically. The car, we need an engineer. For the red lines, we need a poet. This is Odin. So we have this problem. This guy changed the world completely, nobody observed. Because on the red lines, the big changes are, if we talk about matrix, the moment when the cat passes twice. You remember that moment? Not everybody sees, but actually the matrix was changed. So the matrix was changed, and this guy saw it. It's Joseph Brodsky, or Joseph Brodsky, a Russian poet. He went then to United States, and he did not speak English very well. So when he the first time read this poem, he was not in Siberia, but in Karelia, I guess, in a northern part of Russia, in some kind of exile. Some kind of arrested, I don't know why. So he had a big dictionary, and he verified each word because he could not believe what he just read. So this is what he says. I was refusing to believe that in 1939 the poet said that time worships language and the world stayed the same. For worship is an attitude of the lesser toward the greater. Therefore, language is greater and older than time. So he found out that language is older than time. This is something that changes the world completely, at least between those two guys. But I believe Einstein also told that only two guys on the planet can understand what is relativity, and we still accept it as a theory. So I will propose you a game right now. The game is very simple. You should raise your hand if the picture that you see on the screen is interesting to you, and not raise if it's not interesting. So as an exercise, I will ask you if the exercise, how do you feel? The exercise will be interesting. Okay, so we have skepticism, but then the crowd goes after leaders and it's 50-50. Okay, is this interesting? 45%. This is interesting? Oh, 80%, good. Is this interesting? 3.5%, 4%, yes, we are in the parliament. Is this interesting? Oh yeah, 50%, the guys, yes. And is this interesting? Slowly, slowly we understand what happens. Yes, the guys flies, 60%. Is this interesting? A lot of snobs today. No, this is definitely not interesting. Good, so we would think that interesting is relative. This is obvious, because somebody liked something and didn't like something else. So the guys liked the bikini lady and the ladies were not so interested. Interesting is also an attribute and not an essence. This is very simple for me. The essence is, let's say, a book. A book can be read, can be long, can be boring, but in essence it stays a book. A girl is interesting, a movie is interesting, and at this point I'll try to make the game forward, and I'll try to convince you to participate in this play of imagination, where we would build together a world where interesting would be absolute. It would not be attribute, it would be essence. So there will be interesting, and the objects would be some kind of attributes of the interesting. This would be the absolute interesting. So we could see an interesting that would be booky, we could see an interesting that would be girly, and we could see an interesting that would be movie, but it's the same interesting. Hard. So let's imagine. Well, if somebody doesn't understand something, you should give him a picture. So if interesting was absolute, then when I was driving home, I could see a piece of interesting on the road. So imagine that. This is not a red cube. This is a piece of interesting. So I see this piece of interesting. So, oh, a piece of interesting. That's cool. I take the interesting. Yes. I go to my car. I put the interesting in my car. So now I have interesting. I can describe it. It's just pure interesting. The purest interesting. Yes. And I go home. I put it in my kitchen, of course, because I have this piece of interesting, and it's interesting, of course. Yeah. So I can do whatever I want. I can slice it down, and if I want the furniture to be interesting, I just place some interesting on it, and it becomes interesting. If I want that's a watch, to be interesting, then I place some interesting, and it becomes interesting. So this would be a value. This is the purest interesting that you can use. And then my wife would enter, and she would say, "Oh, interesting." Yeah. So then we'd have, because economists talked earlier, and they are talking about distribution of value. What would be the distribution of interesting? I guess that some guys would have a lot of interesting, and some guys would have less interesting. And that would be a problem for you, Anne, for example, that would fight boredom. Like 80% of African countries live in boring conditions, and we should give more interesting to them. And also managing so much interesting would create opportunities for economists also. So how would look the Forbes top in this case? I guess Forbes would do a top 100 of the most interesting people on the planet. So what do you think? What is the top today? This year? Names. Chuck Norris, okay. It's good, it's in the first 50. We have a picture of Chuck Norris, by the way, okay? Then? Sorry? Mark Zuckerberg? Okay, no, he's, no way. Justin Bieber, yes, Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber, he is the 88 now. Onotole will come out here, but actually, no. The top this year, exactly like last year, it's Hans Rosling. Nobody knows you? Okay. That's because we're not in the top. So Hans Rosling is still the most interesting person in the world. And the problem of new economists would be, how can you keep your interesting in banks and mutual funds? Because you'd go with the interesting and take some dividend. And if a bank gets boring, it goes bankrupt, obviously, yes? At this moment I stopped and I thought, okay, I have all this imagination stuff and so on. Maybe this could transform into a video clip or something, but this is TEDx. So I have actually no value to give you. You will get out of this story and forget it the second day, like, and what? So when I have these difficult situations, I usually go to an old wise man, and I ask the old wise man, Anatoly, yeah, old wise man. So what next? Okay, we have this situation. We imagined all this world. What's the point? What's the tip? What's the way? The receipt? What's the salvation? Because TEDx is about salvation. It's the new church, yeah? So we are giving hope to people. We are saying that your life has a meaning and so on. So this is TED. And what would he say? He said, you know, I listened to your story. It's very good, very nice PowerPoint presentation. But you have a big problem with this made-up world. And I say, what's the problem? The problem is that it is real. The world you describe is actually real. I said, no. How can it be real? And he said, well, everyone has an amount of absolute interesting. And I could take longer for this moment to come, but he actually said, this is the attention. So the attention we pay to things, people, books, is the thing that makes them interesting. And it's inside us. So we have this cube, this red cube. It's the attention that we can offer to objects, people, and books, or whatever. So this morning I was late, of course, because I was doing my presentation. And I haven't seen, I entered kind of 5 minutes after Kyra already started. And there was Jetta, you probably know her. It's the lady with the backpack kid. She's very present in all social gatherings here in Moldova. And I saw the kid, and the kid saw me, and I started to make faces, and he was interested, and suddenly we got interested one in another, and we paid a lot of attention one to another. His eyes went like this, and then it was a situation where I could verify the old man's saying. So I'm very sorry that Jim Carrey is not today with us. He has some movies, but he actually has a question that I feel that some of you already would have the answer to. And the question is, why do I fall in love with every woman I see who shows me the least bit of attention? That's in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind movie. But he's not here, so I put the question. And my question is, how can I increase my attention? How can I get more interesting to make this world shine around me? So to have so much interesting in me that I would be interested in everything. So I went to the old... So I went back to the old wise man, and as it usually happens, both the old and the wise is limited, you know. The old dies and the wise just disappear. So the answer was totally unacceptable. Anatoly said, there are poor people who spend all their attention on cheap, interesting TV shows. And I said, what? My question was not like this. So I was in a crisis. I have to find another old wise man. Who said Chuck Norris? No, really, who said Chuck Norris? Okay, Chuck Norris. But Chuck Norris is not old enough, so we took another old wise man, and this is Robert Kiyosaki. Yes, he writes very popular books for Moldovans. How to save money, and his most popular book is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So in this parallel world, it would be interesting dad, boring dad. So I called him and he said he's very busy, but I'll send you a fax. So he sent a fax, and this is a quote from his book. Boring people spend all their attention. Interesting people save attention for themselves. What do you mean, interesting dad? I mean that interesting people pay more attention to themselves. How can I take this path? Ask them if they have mobile phones. So I have a question for you. Do you have mobile phones? Everybody who has a mobile phone or more, please take your mobile phone in your right hand. We'll solve this problem. Come on. Take your mobile phone in your... I believe Mr. Chokan also has a mobile phone. So, okay. Vitaly, I know you have more mobile phones. Could you please grab them all and take it? Okay. Okay, everybody did this? This is very important. This is very important. So now, if you have a person to your right, please give your mobile phone to that person. If you don't have, just put your mobile phone somewhere, but don't touch it. Come on, come on. Just do it. It's an exercise. It's a very good exercise. This guy, he knows what he's saying. Okay, everybody did it? Very good. Now, pay attention. Get back your mobile phones. Please. Okay. Okay. How was it without mobile phone? How did you feel? Okay, you'll understand the purpose of this exercise later. But I will talk about meology. Meology is a science that has a founder. The founding father is here. And the object of the study is me, because I'm asking myself, why all during the day I forget about myself? How come that I like patterns that let me live on automatic mode? And I forget to observe my thoughts. I have thoughts that I never thought of. It's just that when you start to analyze and monitor your thoughts, you're starting thinking about what exactly are you thinking, and you're actually thinking about what you're thinking. So you're not thinking about you used to think before you started the monitoring process. So should I repeat it? No. So this is very hard. There are hours that we lose completely because we don't remember everything we do in life, and we don't remember what we think about. That's also true. And the questions that I raise is, can I be the object of my study, and can I save some attention for myself? The parallel would be with dreams, because this is strange, memory and dreams. When you wake up, you forget your dream in seconds. And it was very, very alive, very interesting. Maybe you had some emotions, but you forget it. The same is with thoughts. You forget the thoughts. The same censorship, random selection, fragmentarity, and blank periods affect your thoughts. So how can you save the attention? You can trap your thoughts. You can trap the patterns, you can trap yourself. And the one and only simple exercise that you will do the next week in order to test this, because old wise men are not in every corner of this country. You will give at home or in the office your phone to somebody that would make 5 alarms a day, reminders or alarm clock. And in the moment during the daytime, this alarm work, you are to write down your thoughts and your actions. What exactly were you thinking before the alarm called? And what exactly were your actions before this happened? And by actions, I don't mean I was in an office, but what the movements, what the legs, what you were doing with your fingers, something that does not goes into memory. So this would help you pay attention to yourself and make yourself the object of your study and accumulate attention. Thank you for your attention.